Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
The shame in it that I think a lot of people do because of just stigma.
Yeah.
Because if you hang out with enough entrepreneurs, that's one of the bad badges of honor.
Yeah.
It's like if you haven't filed BK, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
Like you haven't taken enough chances.
Right.
You haven't put yourself out there.
You and risk need to meet.
You're playing too safe. You know?
Right.
You need to go big.
Right.
Have you tried your dream yet? Why not?
Yeah.
Go try. It's set up that way here.
Exactly.
In America, where
Exactly.
you can go and you can give it a shot and you can borrow money from banks, and if it doesn't work out, you don't have to pay them back.
Yeah.
You know, and so why haven't you filed BK? Like if you hadn't done it, people were like, you wuss.
Yeah.
You know, what's your thing?
Yeah.
You have no stones.
You got to bring it.
So it wasn't.
You gotta bring it.
So for me, and it wasn't a badge of honor for me necessarily, but a lot of people looked at it that way, and a lot of people that I hung out with, and the people in the entrepreneurial world saw it that way. So I didn't have a problem with it personally going through the process. Plus, I was already endorsing my bankruptcy attorney on my show. So for me to go through the process and to explain that and go through that on the radio, I think was helpful for a lot of people who are going through the same thing.
Exactly. And the only reason I'm talking about the stigma part of it is that stigma part of it is something that people create in themselves. It's really not, and society does too, right?
Sure.
But it's really not, it really shouldn't be. It shouldn't be one of those things. It's basically just a fresh start. It's an opportunity to reset everything and take your life and go. You've lived now, you've experienced it, now you go forward, right? You just cannot learn as much as you'll learn if you don't fall flat on your face. That's what the entrepreneurs are telling you, and that's what I want people to understand. It's one of the reasons why we're writing the book, because millennials have PTSD about real estate and they're afraid they're going to go bankrupt. They're going to lose their house to foreclosure. All these things are going to happen that they watched happen in the Great Recession, right? And the whole idea is there are ways, thank you, Mr. Credit, there are ways to get past that. There are ways to recover from it. We have things like bankruptcy and foreclosure that help us reset. There really are solutions out there.
It's also a mentality of sort of understanding, like in the markets, for example, you want to buy low and sell high.
Right.
People want to sell themselves at their low point.
Yeah.
That's when you need to buy you. And that means just doubling down on you.
Right.
Your actions, your activities. We were talking about hitting rock bottom. When you hit rock bottom, that means that it's upside from here.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean now's the time to throw in the towel.
Exactly.
That means now's the time to look forward to things really only having one direction they can go.
Absolutely. And redouble, just like you did, redouble your efforts.
Yes.
Right? And that breakthrough's right there. It doesn't feel like it, right? It doesn't feel that way.
No.
But you'll get there. You're living proof of it. I'm living proof of it. I mean, there are a lot of people out there that have been through really, really rough times and rock bottom big time. We've got a bunch of people on the podcast that have been through just excruciating experiences. But on the other side of that, because they put one foot in front of the other and kept their eye on the horizon and their eye on the ball, they got there.
Yeah, and that's what it takes, just staying after it.
Absolutely.
You know, definitely don't sell yourself.
Don't ever give up.
When you're low.
Don't ever give up.
Buy you.
Yeah.
When you feel that your price is down, when your stock is down, buy you.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that I learned in that situation, which propelled forward into, you know, kind of where we are today.
Right.
It's just staying after it.
So Mr. Credit, ESPN Radio, that's where we met.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then from there, where do you go?
So from radio, you know, I did that grind for almost 7 years, every day, and it was great.
Yeah, and you were very good at it.
I really liked it. Yeah,
you really were very good at it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. It was a dream, like I said. And then at a certain point in time, I get this itch to climb new mountains.
Right.
And I just so happened to be recruited by the Union Tribune. It's the first time I've ever been recruited for anything in my life.
Oh, really?
Professionally. Never been recruited for anything. So Union Tribune has an opening for, real estate executive.
Okay.
And they happen to know someone who knows me in the real estate industry, so they recommended I go and interview for the position. So I went in and talked to the guy, Joe Brennan. His name was Brenneman or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he, I said, well, listen, I'm only interested in doing something like this if you literally make me like the CEO of the department. I don't want anyone telling me what to do. I have to be in control. I have to make all the decisions, and that has to be okay with everybody. And he goes, great, that's exactly what we need.
That's awesome.
So they offered me $150K salary with $100,000 in potential bonuses to go and do that. And it also worked in lockstep with what I was doing with my radio business.
Mm-hmm.
At this point now, I have 3 hours a day on the radio that I'm in control of and that I own. Lots of people doing lots of shows.
Yeah.
My show was the anchor show, but now I needed to farm that out so that I could go do this other job and step away from the radio. And so it was hard to do, but at the same time, it was a new mountain. It interconnected well, and I didn't lose any revenue from radio. So I just picked up this new income. So I felt like I was rich, for like the first time. Really ever, I felt rich. Like I had more money coming in than I can spend.
Right.
And so
that's a fun feeling.
It was a fun feeling. And there was, and I had, the control that I wanted too. I didn't have to answer to anybody. But it was hard managing that many people. There was like 20 people that worked in that department or something. And so there was a lot of challenges with that. And I was out of the office a lot, meeting with people, doing the real estate schmooze, trying to get people interested in the paper and or the radio show, trying to use it in conjunction. Just, hey, when are you interested? You want to talk radio? You want to talk newspaper?
Right.
Got them both. Open house advertisements, blah blah blah. I was slinging all that stuff.
So that's how I got the phone call you called me about the Union Tribune thing, the advisory council thing that we were on.
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, you called me and you said, hey, Union Tribune called me and said that they're looking for the best of the best in real estate in San Diego.
We did a meeting.
Right.
Yes.
And there were 2 rooms, I found out later.
Yep.
Right. And they had cameras running in both rooms. And I was in the room that you weren't in there. You were in the other room. I was in the room with the CEO. And the CEO asked me a very dangerous question for somebody like me, which was, Mr. Litton, if you own the Union Tribune, what would you do? 21 minutes later, I finished up my answer, okay? And I figured, I'll never hear from these guys ever again. And that next day, they called me and said, we're selecting people from both groups. We want you, and I think it was 4 other people, to be on this advisory council. You're gonna spend all day in Papa Doug's office. Did you know about all this?
I did not know about.
Okay, so this was Papa Doug Manchester reaching. By the way, if you're listening, Papa Doug, I'm trying to get you to call me back to be on this podcast. So we were on an advisory council because they were trying to reach out to realtors. They were trying to reach out to the real estate industry. And so they literally said to me, the CEO said, if you own the Union Tribune, what would you do to reach out to the real estate community? 21 minutes later, right? Yeah, I'm not joking. I thought for sure I'd never hear from him again. I almost called you to apologize because you were the one that called me to invite me, right? And the next day they call and they're like, hey, we loved your answer. We think what the way you're thinking is brilliant. We want you to be a part of this advisory council. Sam Coramian, who I just had on the show last week, Sam was in that group with us.
Yep.
It was cool. We spent all day in Papa Doug's office.
That's fun.
It was awesome. It was really cool.
I never got to hang out in Papa Doug's office.
It was really cool. So I thought you engineered all that. So because you were the one that called me to invite me.
Yeah.
But I think they had reached out to you. You said
yes,
and then you reached out to me. So
I believe it was something that it was my idea.
Yeah.
But at the time they were reeling. They didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
with real estate.
they really were.
They didn't know what to do with it.
They really were. And the cool thing was, I don't know, 60 days later or 45 days later or something, we come back and Papa Doug's there and they go through all the things that we on the advisory council, all the things that we suggested, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, Mr. Litton suggested this and we did it. Mr. Litton suggested this and we did it. Mr. Litton suggested this and we did it, right? And this buddy of mine reached over and he goes, if I knew this was going to be the Mike Litton show, I would have passed, right? But yeah, it was cool, man. That was an awesome experience. So they bring you on the head of real estate. How long were you there?
6 months.
Okay. And it was because it was just too much.
Things changed.
Okay.
They weren't doing all the things that I said we needed to do.
Okay.
So, not that I was lied to, but they didn't fulfill the promise that it was going to be, we were going to do what I said we needed to do.
Okay.
So I wanted to do some things to the website. I wanted to update things that I knew would be sexy for the real estate industry and do things. And things started moving in that direction. All of a sudden, they came to a halt. No one was giving me answers like, okay, I can't do this.
Yeah.
If you guys need to play politics, I've scratched someone's back, get things done. I just can't do it. I can't operate like that.
It wasn't the deal you made.
It wasn't the deal I made, and I just was like, you know what, I'm not going to play this game. And I also knew there were other executives that were on their way out.
Yeah.
Also, the news industry is extremely disgusting.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, there were fires going on. This is 2014. So we had fires going on, and there's executive meeting, literally from every department, every executive in a room like this. And people were giddy, Mike.
Yeah.
Giddy.
Yeah, because they now had material.
They were making so much money.
If it bleeds, it leads.
They were getting calls from Walmart and Lowe's, and everybody wanted to be, throwing 100,000 this and there. Money was flying in from every direction because people's houses were burning down.
Yeah.
And the executives were giddy about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is not.
It's disgusting, dude.
It's not
disgusting
for me.
Yeah.
I just can't hang like this.
Yeah.
I want to throw up.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm in this room.
Mm-hmm.
People were looking at me weird because I wasn't like happy like everyone else was.
Mm-hmm.
But so I knew that wasn't the right place for me at that time, and it wasn't long after that I was gone.
Yeah.
And then that's when I went to 760 and did the show over there on 760 for a little while. Just kind of getting back into the thing before I then got back into the mortgage business full time with Mr. Cahan over at Cornerstone. Doing different things for him from a media standpoint, recruiting standpoint, but ultimately, before my most recent 2 children were born, who are now 2 and 4.
And cute as a bug's ear, by the way.
Thank you, they're great.
Literally, and they're growing so fast.
Yeah, man,
my goodness,
it's crazy. But I made the decision I wanted to actually become a loan officer, and I didn't want to manage anyone. I didn't want anyone to manage me. I just wanted to run my own business. I wanted to give people great deals. And just do a good job, but I wanted to be around for my kids.
Yeah.
Didn't get that with my first one. That was a lesson I learned.
Yeah.
Was being in an office for 12 hours a day, getting to see her for 30 minutes was a bad deal.
Yeah, and a bad deal for her.
Bad deal for her, bad deal for me. Wasn't good. And I didn't want to do that, so I went ahead and said, I'm going to become a loan officer. I'm going to work from a home office. I'm going to be around.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm still going to be locked in there for hours and hours at a time because this business requires a lot of you.
Yeah.
But when I get to take a break, when I take a lunch,
I'll be there.
I'm going to be taking that break with my kids. I'm going to be taking that lunch with my kids.
And you'll be present.
I'm there. They know daddy's there.
Yeah.
If someone falls, gets hurt, or if mom needs a break, I can be there. Yeah. And so that was the major lesson that I learned. And that's where we got to essentially where we are today.
Yeah. So real credit and huge kudos to you for learning and allowing yourself to learn. Okay. Not every father learns those lessons. Not every father applies them. Not every father becomes a better dad because they messed up on the first one. Okay. And I'm big into people that are listening to the podcast know that I'm big into being a dad. It was one of the true honors of my life was being the father to my 2 children. And and you remember this because you and I had this conversation. I gave up radio in 2014 so that I could go home and chase the kids. And you came and talked to me. Do you remember this? You may not remember this. But you called me and you're like, hey, I want to take you to coffee. I want to talk to you about radio. Okay. So we go to Starbucks in Encinitas and we have a conversation because Trump was going to win the nomination. And you wanted me to come on and do a drive time morning show, the Mike Litton show, but you wanted me to talk about the Trump nomination and what was happening in the election and all that.
That's huge.
And I was big time tempted, but I had to go chase these kids around. And man, you worked really hard to close me on that deal, and it didn't work. I ultimately had to say no to you, but it was one of those things where, and I mean, there were even people at Starbucks after you left. There were people at Starbucks that came up to me and said, you really should do the radio thing. they listened to what we were talking about.
That was a great
They
conversation.
could overhear our conversation. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like an E.F. Hutton moment. Like we were talking, and everybody else was listening. You know?
100%.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. So that was quite an experience. So thank you for that.
Yes.
I love you. You know that. So you come up to today. You're now a loan officer. You've been a loan officer now for a few years.
Yeah. 2019.
And so being in the mortgage business is a lot. Let's go back for a second. I used to be on a thing with you called Smarter San Diego. I was on Smarter San Diego Radio. I was on Smarter San Diego TV.
Yeah.
Are you currently doing something like that now? Like, are you, okay, so you're, and help me with something. We lost Sonia Azizi not too long ago, who we dearly loved.
Yeah.
And she mopped the floor with me on both of the shows that I was on with you. What was it called?
Win This Listing.
Win This Listing, there we go. I didn't even have a chance. I didn't even have a prayer.
She was very good.
Oh, she's amazing. Absolutely amazing. One of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. And I'm really sorry that we lost her, you know. And I don't know if you know this, but I got a hold of the CEO of Compass. She was a Compass real estate agent, and I got a hold of Refkin. And that, in fact, the week that she passed, I got a hold of him on that Friday afternoon, and he is helping to raise money for that GoFundMe account. So, and he didn't know that she had passed. It hadn't made it up to him, and so he was, you know, to credit to him, he was getting involved and helping. So, that was a humiliating experience. It was fun, but it was a very humiliating experience. Very humbling. Anyway, so you're not doing anything like Smarter San Diego, that kind of thing. So no. So Mr. Credit evolved into Smarter San Diego.
True. Yeah. After 760, that's when I opened the television studio, built the television studio, because sponsors were just more interested in doing TV.
Right.
We were essentially doing the radio show with 4 cameras set up anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like we were doing all the work for TV.
Yeah. I agree with that. I remember that. Yeah.
So I went and opened up a studio, built it myself, just in a small office space in Sereno Valley.
Yeah.
You know, built a studio there.
And the studio's still there, by the way.
It is.
I was just there the other day.
Yep, still there. I handed it over to my buddy Brett, and he's running it now, doing his own thing with it. But I exited from that and just decided to focus on just one thing, just trying to keep it simple.
Good for you.
But we did the TV show for 5
So you've been in the mortgage business now for a few years. You're doing well. I'm thoroughly impressed with your insights, your market analysis, all the stuff that you're doing. I love listening to you. I always have loved listening to you, but I love listening to you when you talk about the market and technical stuff and all that. So let's talk a little bit about being in the mortgage business now. What's most important to you going forward? In other words, now that you're where you are at this station in your life, obviously you're raising two babies, 2 and 4, right? And you're doing your own gig. You're your own boss, basically.
Yeah.
What's most important today and going forward?
Just focus. What I call right action.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're doing the right things.
Yeah.
What should you be doing right now?
Perfect.
You know, that's it. What should you be doing right now?
Right.
And you need to know what that answer to that is at every time of every day.
Yeah.
So, staying on course with the same things. Like, for example, today's Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
right? So today I'm going to follow up with all my hot prospects.
Right.
These are people who've been referred to me or have reached out to me inquiring about a loan that have not done an application yet.
Gotcha.
So right action this afternoon is going to be following up with all those people. That's what I need to be doing.
Right.
And just kind of staying on track with the organization of, I know what my daily to-do is for business.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the daily routine is with the kids, and what my role is at those different moments.
That's awesome.
So just staying on right action, it's being focused on doing the right things. Do the right things, do the right things, do the right things, brick by brick.
It's the way you've always done it, dude.
Yeah, just brick by brick.
It's the way you've always done it. It's why I'm proud of you. It's why I love you. And you know that. So is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we sign off?
No, I think it's perfect timing. I think I got a scoot. I think I can still make it.
Yeah, you got a scoot. Sorry, man. We went a little long on time.
That's all right.
But thank you for being here.
You got it, brother.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out Calendly.com/Rio760.